Hi, again, this is Samir Kirtania, Assistant Teacher in English, SM Model Government-High School, Gopalgonj. Hi, beloved students. How are you? I am fine. Today, again, I have come before you to represent a class, especially online class, and the class is on voice changing. In our previous class, we learned voice changing, especially from active to passive. Today also, we will discuss from there. Okay, students? So, voice from active to passive. Voice. At first, I will write here the structure. This class is suitable only for the students of level 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So class 6 to 10, the students class 6 to 10 will be beneficial from this class. So students, rejoin me. Okay? Rejoin my class, online class. I think you will be benefited. The structure. STRUCTUR, structure. In our previous class, I told you student, first of all, what is the first item of changing a voice? Object. Okay, object. The second option is, the second activity is to use auxiliary. AUX. Auxiliary verbs. Okay. The third step is try to use not. Try to use not. Okay, boys. And the third step is to try to use be, being, or been. Be, being, been. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. And what is the fifth step? To use the past participle of the main verb of the active voice. Or you can also say V3. Okay, boys? Next option is to write the second object. Try to write down the second object. Within bracket, because we know when you will find the second object, only then you will use second object, otherwise not. The next activity is to use by or to, at or with, but maximum cases we use by, and that's why I have written here by, and then the subject. Okay, boys. So this is the structure of changing a voice, especially from active to passive. Now I will write some sentences from the tense of continuous, or from those kind of tenses where you will find the use of auxiliary. In our previous class, we used only those sort of sentences where you didn't find any mentioning of any auxiliary. But today we will learn from the sentences where we will find the use of auxiliaries. Okay, students? So number 1. He is writing a letter. Okay. Second one is they are playing a football. Third is She was singing a song. Okay, this three sentences first we will do. Student, if I ask you, what is the first activity at the question of changing voice from active to passive? The answer is that to pick up the object. To pick up the object. So how you will recognize what the object of a sentence is? We know after main verb or principal verb, the object remains. So look here in this first sentence, the subject is he. Is the auxiliary. Writing is the principal verb or main verb. And a letter is the object. It is very much easier to students if you find the mentioning of auxiliary, you can easily recognize what is the main verb, because after auxiliary, the word or the verb which you will find, that is the principal verb. So after auxiliary, the principal verb is used. After auxiliary, the principal verb is used. So this is the easier method to find out the main verb. If you find the mentioning of auxiliary in a sentence, then you will easily be able to recognize what is the principal of that sentence. Because after using auxiliary, main verb or principal verb is used. So here we are finding three examples or three sentences. And these three sentences we are find in every stage we are finding auxiliary. Respectively, look here, the auxiliaries here are, and here is was. So these are the three auxiliaries I have used in these three sentences. So after the auxiliary, the principal verb is used. So this is the principal verb. Here this is the principal verb. Here this is the principal. This is the auxiliary. This is the auxiliary. This is the auxiliary. Okay, student. So now, if I ask you what is the subject, you can say, sir, he is the subject. If I ask you what is the main principal verb, so the principal verb is, or auxiliary verb is. Okay. What is the auxiliary verb? Not principal. What is the auxiliary verb? Is the auxiliary. What is the principal verb here? Writing. What is the object? A letter. So, what is your first activity at the question of changing a voice, especially from active to passive? To pick up the object, correct? Yes. So a letter is the object here. Now I will pick up the letter. A letter at the position of the subject in the passive voice. So a letter. Okay. A letter. So the first activity is done. Now the second step. What is the second step? According to the structures of the voice changing, after writing object, you will write the auxiliary. You are bound to write the auxiliary. This is not optional item. It is mandatory. You must need to write auxiliary in the passive voice. Otherwise, your voice would not be done. So, auxiliary. After writing object, you will write down the auxiliaries. What is the auxiliary? Auxiliary is the is. So, if you find the auxiliary, you will write from there. You will write from there. So, a letter is. A letter is. Then, what is the next activity of you? To try to write down the use of not. But not according to the structure. Not is in within bracket. Within bracket. Why this is in bracket? Because if any word in structure is within bracket, that means it is not mandatory. Sometimes you can use and sometimes you are not allowed to use. When you are allowed, only then when you will find the mentioning of this word in the active voice. If you don't find the mentioning of this word in the active voice, then you are not allowed to write it. Okay. So I am not allowed here to write not, because there is no mentioning of using not in the active voice. So now I will not write it. Next, come to the point. What is the next part? After omitting not, you will try to write down be, being, been. Boys, must you know write be from be, been, being, because in the active voice we are finding here the use of auxiliary. If you find the use of auxiliary in the active voice, of course you will write the be, been, being there. From there, you will choose one of them from be, been, being, be, been, being. So what is the item that would be written here? Be, being, or been? I am saying, dear student, this is very much easier for you. If the auxiliaries are of continuous tense, that means present continuous, past continuous, and future continuous. If the tenses of the voice belong to the continuous tense, present continuous tense, past continuous tense, or future continuous tense, you will pick up being from be, being, been. From these three actions, you will choose being. If you find am, is, are, that means present continuous. If you find was, were, that means past continuous. If you find the use of shall be, will be, that means future continuous tense. This kind of auxiliaries, at the case of this kind of auxiliaries, you are allowed to use being. So, what is the summary? You can say, sir, summary is like this. If I find the use of am, is, are in the active voice, or the use of was, were in the active voice, or the use of be, shall be, or will be, only then you will use being. Okay? And if you find the auxiliaries from the past perfect tense, present perfect tense, or future perfect tense, that means perfect tense. If you find the auxiliaries from the perfect tense, only then you will choose been. What is the auxiliary in present perfect tense? What are the auxiliaries in present perfect tense? Has or have. What is the auxiliary in past perfect tense? Had. What are the auxiliaries in future perfect tense? Shall have, will have. So in these cases, in this use, when you will find the use of the auxiliary from perfect tense, then you will be allowed to write down been. But if you find the use of modal auxiliaries, what are the modal auxiliaries, boys? Especially the modal auxiliaries are shall, will, should, would, can, could, may, might, must, need, have to, has to, had to, ought to, is going to, are going to, etc. These are the modal auxiliaries. When you will find the use of modal auxiliaries, then you will use be. So again I am saying, if you find the auxiliaries from continuous tense, you will write been. If you find the auxiliaries of perfect tense, you will write been. If you find the auxiliaries of modal, that means modal auxiliaries if you find, then you will write be. So I think students, you are understood now. When you will write be or being or been. So here, as we are finding the use of continuous, so we will write here being. A letter is being. Okay. So after writing being, the next part is to write down the third form or past participle form of the main verb. So what is the main verb here? The main verb is here writing. So I will write here the first participle form of the write. Write, wrote, and written. Write, wrote, and written. So write here the written. Okay, boys. So this is done. Now the activity, so the part and the part is here the second object. Dear student, look here in the first sentence there is no use of any kind of second object because we are finding here only one object and that is a letter. So there is no second object. So I will omit this option. Okay, next part is to write down by. So I will write here by. And next, the subject of the active voice. What is the subject here? He. And we know, at the case of changing subject or pronoun, you are allowed the opposite form of the pronoun. If nominative case, then you will write the objective case. If objective case, then you will write the nominative case. Okay. So he, him, he and him. I think we everybody know I would be changed into me. Me would be changed into I. We, that means us. Us, that means we. He, him. Okay. Him, he. She, her. Her, she. They, them. Them, they. Actually, these are the changing options of pronoun at the case of voice changing. So student, look here, they are playing a football. This is the second sentence. If I ask you what is the subject, you will say sir they. What is the auxiliary? You can say sir are. What is the main verb? You can say sir playing. And what is the object? Object is a football. Object is a football. So first of all, you will write down the object. What is the object here? A football is the object. So I am writing at first the object, and that is a football. Okay. So I have written here the object. So after writing the object, you will write the auxiliaries. What is the auxiliary here? The auxiliaries are. So am is at the same. Okay. M is at the same. So after football, a football, a is the singular, as a is the singular football, so we will write here is. This is not the change of R. Just I have written down the same auxiliary. M is at the same. A football. A football is okay, boys. So after writing the auxiliary, what is the activity of you? Then try to write the dot. Are you allowed to write a note? Of course not, because there is no mention of any kind of note. That's why we will omit the use of note. Then what is the function? Next function is to use be bin being. Am I allowed to write be bin being here? Yes, of course. Why, student? Because here we are finding the use of auxiliary. And what is the auxiliary? The auxiliary is are here. So am is are. And I have already said to students, if we find the auxiliary from continuous tense, then being should be used. So I will write here being. Do you understand? I think you are better understood. Now student, what is the next item? To change the principal verb. What is the principal here? Playing. So play is the verb. So what is the third form? Play, played and played. Played. So played. A football is being played. And then what shall we do? We'll try to write down the second object. But look here, there is no mention of any kind of second object. So we'll not write it. So what is the next option? Next option is to write down by. So I'll write here by. And then final option is to write down the subject. Is subject they. So they, them. They should be transmitted into them. So this is the answer of the second sentence. And now we'll try to do the third voice changing. Again I am saying, student, what is the object here? You can say, sir, the object is a song. Why this is the object? Because you can say, sir, you have said to us that after using main verb, the auxiliary verb is object is used. As this is the auxiliary, after the auxiliary, the main verb is used. As it is auxiliary, so it is the main verb. As it is the main verb, it is the object. After using main verb, object is used. and that's why this is the object. So first of all, I will pick up the object a song. A song. Okay, student. Then we will write the auxiliary. Look here. There are auxiliaries in this sentence. There is the auxiliary, boys. There is the auxiliary. There is the auxiliary in the sentence. What is the auxiliary here? The auxiliary is was. Okay, was. So was and where, they are the same. So singular after singular, you will be allowed to write was. A song was. Then you will try to write not, but we will not write not because there is no use of not. So omitting this, now go to the next part, and the next part is to write down be, been, me. What we will write now? We will write now the use of being, okay? Because was were continuous, auxiliary is from continuous. That's why you will write being. A song was being. Dear boys, so I have already written down from this. Now this is the step, and in this step we will change the main verb. That means we will write down the third form or first person of the main verb. What is the main verb here? Sing. And we know the first person of sing is sung. Sing, sang and sung. S-U-N-G. Okay? Sung. Then the second object. Look here, there is no mentioning of any kind of second object. So we will not write it. And now we will write by. And after that, you will write the subject. What is the subject here? She. She should be transmitted into her. So this is the three voice engine, especially from the continuous tense. Now we will write. I will write the sentence from perfect tense, especially to show the use of being, BW and been. I have used here a piece of cloths, soft cloths, using some water, so that it would be easier for me to erase the board. This is the duster, look student, but it is not doing best, and that's why I have taken this piece of cloth. Using the water in it, I am erasing the board and it is easier. Though it is odd looking, because it is fresh item, but it is odd looking. For saving the time, I have used the piece of cloth. Okay, student, don't mind. Now we'll change the voice from perfect tense, okay, and then we'll change the voice from the modal auxiliary. Okay, dear boys, look at the whiteboard. Now I'll give some examples from perfect tense. Number 1. Korean has solved the problem. Okay, boys. Number 2. He has given me a book. Okay. Number 3. I will have done the work. Okay, boys, my beloved student, look here. Here I have given the 3 examples, and all the examples are from perfect tense. Karim has solved, that means it is a present perfect tense. He has given me a book, it is also from present perfect tense. I will have done the work. This is the example from the future perfect tense. Okay. Now try to change. Karim has solved the problem. So first activity is to change the object of the active voice. What is the object here? Again you will say, sir, the answer is the object is the problem. So now we will write the object, the problem. The problem. Okay, this is the first one. Then what will student, what we will do now? We will do, that means we will try to write down the auxiliary, and it is mandatory. Of course, after writing the object, you will write the auxiliaries. And look, what is the auxiliary here? The auxiliary is here has. So has and have is the same. Has and have really same. According to the person or number they are used. The problem represents before us the singular, and that's why, but third person. If the subject is a third person singular, understand, third person singular, then you will use has. But if the person is of first person, second person or third person plural, then you will use have. So the problem has. The problem has. Now auxiliary has been done. Then try to use the not. So not, but there is no use of not, so we will not write not. Then we will be. Look here, as we have found the use of auxiliary has or have from perfect tense, so we are allowed to use been, because I have already told you, if we find the auxiliary from perfect tense, then only then we are allowed to bring been. So we will bring from here the word been. Been. Okay, boys. The problem has been. Then B3. That means past participle form. What is the verb? Solve. This is the past participle form. Solve, solved, and solved. Okay. Now the second object. Look here, there is no second object, and that's why I am not writing this. So after omitting this second object, you will write by. So by, and then the subject. Subject is Karim. If the subject or object is from noun, then it would not be changed. You will write down the total form of the noun. But if you find the pronoun in subject or object, then you will change that. If it is nominative, you will write the objective case. If the subject is of objective case, then you will write the nominative case. Okay. Now boys, he has given me a book. He has given me a book. So this is the subject, this is the auxiliary, this is the main verb, principal verb, this is the first object, and this is the second object. So this is the object and this is the object. I told you that, student, in the part of object, if you find more than one word, if you find more than a or one word in the part of object, then you will guess in yourself that, you will think in yourself that there may be of two objects. If you find that there are a noun or pronoun, or two noun or two pronouns, then you will think that there are, of course, two objects. Look here, this is the pronoun and this is noun. And that's why here we are finding two objects. The word me represents the human being. Human being always be the first object. It would be given the priority, first priority. And so a book is not the first object, the first object is me. So you will try, or you will pick up the first object in the beginning. So me. And we know, if we find me, then we will write I. So I. Okay, student, I. And then auxiliary. Here we are finding the auxiliary, and that is has or have. If the subject of first person, second person or third person plural, that means I, we, you and they. If the pronouns are this, then you will use have. I have, we have, you have, they have. But if the subject or object is of third person singular, then only you will use has. Understand? So, I have. Have and has. That is not change. In fact, they are the same. So, I have. Then I will try to write not. But not here is mentioning, and that way I will not use it. So omit this and then go to the option. Next option is to choose from here be bin bin. If I ask you, will I use be bin bin here? Of course, because there are the use of auxiliary. And if you find the use of auxiliary in the active voice, then you must use the be bin bin. You must use either be or being or bin. So in the case of perfect tense, you will use bin. So I have been. Okay, boys. Now, after writing bin, then the function is to write B3. That means given. So this is the first person form. Gave and given. So I will write given. Okay, boys. Now B3 has already been done. So now the option is to write second object. Look here, that is the second object. This is the second object. So now I will write the second object, a book. Me given, I have been given a book, and by, this is the by and the subject him. Okay, boys. Now I will have done the work. I will have done the work. Look here. I will have done the work. This is the subject, auxiliary, main verb. This is the auxiliary, main verb, and the object. So what is the object here? The work. Okay, boys. The work. Then auxiliary. What is the auxiliary here? Will have. Shall have or will have. At the question of shall have, will have, always you will try to choose or select will have, not shall have. So the work will have, and then not, but we will not use it because there is no use of not. Then be bin being, of course we will write bin. Okay, so the work will have been. Then B3. What is the main verb? Done. So this is the B3, first person form. First person form. Okay, and now the second object. There is no quotation of any kind of second object, so we will not write it. Now the use of by, so write by. And the finally I write the objective case of subject. And what is that? I, me. So this is the me. Okay, dear boys, look here. Today we have learnt voice changing, especially from active to passive voice, and here also we have used the be, been, being. Okay, from be, been, being, today we have used been. All the being and been also we have used today. So in my next class we will learn from the next part. So I think today we can finish it. Okay, now before leaving this class, now again I want to summarize the today's discussion or today's lecture. Okay, boys. So if I ask you, boys, what is the main activity of you at the question of changing voice? In our next class, after 2 or 3 classes, we will discuss from the passive to active. And passive to active is a little bit difficult than active to passive, right? But that is not so difficult. That is also easier. But before doing that, if you have the ability or capability of changing voice from active to passive, that would be very much easier for you. Okay, boys? So if you want to change voice, especially from passive to active, you must have the good knowledge of changing voice from active to passive. The boys or the students who are able-bodied, especially to change active to passive, all kinds of voice changings are very much easier for them. So before going there, that means I want to say to you, before going to discuss or learning about voice changing from passive to active, you will learn voice from active to passive very clearly. If it is clear, then other part of voice changing would be very much easier for you. So now I am asking some question, and through this I will summarize the students' discussion of today's lecture. Dear boys, today we have also learned from the voice changing, and all my sentences I have used the auxiliaries, because today's motto was to learn to use of be, been, being, and that's why I have used auxiliaries in all the sentences. Today you have learned the sentences from continuous tense and perfect tense. If we find the mentioning of auxiliaries in the active voice, in passive voice you will write down the be, been, being. Okay, boys? So if you find the use of continuous tense, that means am, is, are, was, are, shall, will, be, then you will use being. But if you find the auxiliaries from perfect tense, that means has, have, had, or shall have, will have, then you will write the been. Okay, boys? So finally I am asking, what is the structures of voice changing? Then you will close up your eyes and try to memorize the structure, what I have written down the black whiteboard, and then you will try to say, sir, in this way, sir, first of all we will have to take the object, then we will write down the auxiliaries, and it is very much mandatory. Then we will try to write down the use of not, but if we find not, then only we will use not, otherwise not. And then we will try to use be, been, or being. But when we will use it, if we find the auxiliaries in the active voice, in that case we will use be, been, being. Okay, boys? And then we will write the first person of the main verb, and after writing the main verb, you are allowed to write down the second object. Okay? If you find second object, only then you will write it. After it, you will write the preposition by, and then last of all you will use the subject of the active voice. In this way, a voice changing, especially from active to passive, will be done. Okay, student, I think you have now better understood. Okay, boys, I can think. Okay, I am telling you, if you were attentive in all my class, you will be able to learn the techniques of grammar. Grammar is very much interesting for you, especially for the students, if the students are attentive in the class. So dear boys, today I will not waste enough time for you. Thank you for being with me. Pray for you. Stay safe and blessed. Thank you. See you again. Bye.